Hello, welcome back to the channel. First of all, let's have a quick update. So around the time of my last video, the Ratchet and Clank Deathless video randomly popped off in the algorithm. Right now it's sitting around 23,000 views at the moment, and I've got so many subs off that. So if you're someone from that video and you're back again, hey, thanks for watching. According to my analytics, I probably like the same games as you, and at the time I wrote this, I have one single exam tomorrow that I'm probably gonna bomb. But then it's summertime, baby, and I'll be grinding them videos all the way until August. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year so I can tell my mom I'm actually doing something with my life. So please stick around. I'd love to have you. Other than that, I figured I'd open up the season with an absolute banger I've had in my back pocket for a while, so here we go. Ratchet and Clank. You know them, you love them. They're your planet-hopping, galaxy-saving Mississippi farm boy mechanic that drives lifted trucks, paired with the city boy factory worker from Manhattan.
Put those grippers away!
The unlikely duo who normally use a stacked loadout of weaponry ranging from chain lightning crab claws, missile pods, and more phrase that even turn your enemies into chickens, and so much more. These weapons are core to the experience, and do you know what I say? Fuck them weapons. You see this ammo buying box here? Fuck that box. You see these Gadgetron ammo boxes? Fuck them boxes too. But fortunately, there's a pair of weapons that exclusively do melee damage in a world where the dominant power has guns, missiles, and bombs. One of those weapons comes with Ratchet, and is his trusty mechanic's wrench. He has a 3-hit combo, a falling hyper strike, as well as a wrench throw. However, that's been done plenty before. Shout out to these guys' videos right here who both inspired and helped me clear some of the more helpless sections of the run. But instead of the wrench, I want to make a big chunk of this video about one weapon in particular. One of my favorites as a kid and even now. That's right, baby, I'm talking about the walloper. This bad boy is so strong, it can break metal boxes that not even the Rhino can break. I mean, think about it. One costs 150,000 bolts and the other one costs 7,500, or even 5k bolts if you got the discount. The walloper offers a lunge attack in a straight line, and for a brief moment it'll block any and all attacks with invincible frame, but its weakness is that it can only be used while grounded, and it has a bit of end lag after each launch. Again, the Rhino can't even break metal boxes, so you tell me what's better, okay? But the rules to this challenge are simple. You start on Novalis and go all the way to the ground pounding button on Veldin that blows up Drek's planet, all without using any of the other weapons in Ratchet's inventory to get there. There's a bonus rule where we try to avoid using weaponry on vehicles and turrets, but if things seem too stacked against me, I won't count it as a complete and utter failure if I use those weapons, only as a needs improvement sticker. Kind of like Clank. Wow, it's all come full circle. I will also be playing on the PS3 version of the game, so the FOV is just a bit wider, and I will also be at the start of a challenge mode run, for one reason being that it allows you to use the walloper from the get-go. I will also need the extra nanotech right away, so I don't just have to brainlessly farm for bolts to get it later, which saves everyone time. And I'm also trying to platinum the game for another video, and those 1 million bolts are not going to collect themselves. So without further ado, let's punch our way through Ratchet and Clank Melee Only. So I'm actually using the same save I completed the Deathless run with, and that save never even bought the walloper, so I should definitely get that.
I got some great bargains.
The first thing I want to do is test out how well this walloper is actually going to work, so I take on the caves first, and just my way through the caves. At this point, I'm only sitting at 5 nanotech because if you've watched the Deathless video, you know that 8 nanotech was way too crazy of a grind for me at the time, but we will be buying 8 nanotech later for the extra tankiness. And next up is to head to the plumber for his infobot, and let me just... The plumber quickly explains how wealth inequality works better than any American textbook.
Okay. Shouldn't you be on one of them escape transports?
Escape transports?
Newsflash, giant robots attacking! The escape transports are taking all the rich folks off this goddamn planet.
So why aren't you on one?
Socioeconomic disparity.
What?
He hasn't got enough bolts.
Working people have to wait for Captain Quark to save us.
Well, got anything worth a lot of bolts?
I got this thing.
So we pitch in by covering his bus fee off of Novalis in exchange for an infobot. After sliding down the drain pipe, I head out for the last objective of saving the representative from Novalis, again for an infobot. And don't worry, it'll just take a... minute. Pretty safe to assume the first planet was gonna be this easy, but we get the information on Iridia as well as Kerwan.
Do you know what this means?
Yeah, Captain Quark has died.
No, it means Captain Quark is on Metropolis. We could tell him about this invasion.
And the first stop is going to be Metropolis because the things we get from here help us clear Iridia without having to backtrack. And on Metropolis, the first route to take is to upgrade our backpack into a helipad. This heli commander does exist at this point, but you can just run past him, much like any of the enemy types in this game. About halfway through this route, we fork over the bolts to Al to ascend to great heights. It also gives us the long jump, which will be an excellent movement option. Now it's time to... wrap up this route, grab the infobot for Eudora, and go get the swing shot. Do a hop, skip, and a jump, and fork over another stack of bolts, and that swing shot is ours. Kerwan equals mad easy. And to the surprise of 0 people, Iridia is up next. First stop is to get the Trespasser, where I just... tear it up. I do a little bit of Spider-Manning 20 years before the actual Insomniac Spider-Man game, and you got yourself another required gadget. As long as you don't let go of the circle button too early and drown in the mud.
Yes!
Skid's agent is next to visit, and he's just a short distance away from the swing shot challenge. He doesn't give us anything yet, but he's more important when I come back for the Sand Mouse helmet for platinum completion in that other video. 3 feet behind the ship, Skid McAngles is 3 feet behind the ship. Skid McAngles is tending to his sprained ankle, and we clean up some sand sharks where he rewards us with the hoverboard for later use on Rilgar. That's 3 planets down, and that makes Eudora next on the list. Fortunately for me, Eudora has only 1 objective in this run, since I already have the suck cannon from Deathless. Oh, and I also reorganized my quick select, so it's only the walloper and the gadgets. Just seemed like the responsible thing to do. What probably consists of the easiest infobot in the game in less than a minute 10.
You sure showed him.
I suppose I did.
I'm already through to the next planet, and that bot lets us go to the Blarg station. Our main goal here is to blow up, act like we don't know nobody, get the infobot to Rilgar, the Hydro Displacer, and the Grind Boots. The first task I do is to head for the Hydro Displacer as Clank, I thought this area could have been a hiccup for me in the journey, but thankfully Clank and the Gadget Bots all use melee attacks to damage their enemies. So this route is a Moonsout certified melee only. All that's left now is the Grind Boots. This is the longest route of them all and has the most enemies. The Blarg soldiers with the wave attack can be tricky to time right, as well as the insectoid chomper monster things. But again, the walloper is just the best weapon in the game. What else do I even need to say? It's actually where I suffered my first death surrounded by chompers. Realizing I needed to slow down and actually think about what I was doing, I was soon to make quick work of this area. I did have to use some wrench throws to unlock the electric fences, but other than that, walloper only. I took the Queen's Gambit and boxed her shit, bribed a scientist for his grind boots, and did the dash to Rogard. Despite having the best soundtrack in the game, Blackwater City was not the most hype planet to get through. A lot of the enemies had close range attacks that will stun lock you to death. The tanks were the worst because they were immune to the walloper. The weapon is so good, they had to use console command /God to even beat it. This is literally 1984 by George Clooney. The only way to beat them is just to run by them. And what's also awkward is that sometimes while going up an incline with the walloper, the exterminator types will also just be immune to it, but the easy workaround is just to move. Soon I got the hang of the walloper on Blackwater and took the route to the Raceway Plaza. I didn't really run into many problems along the way, just some tanks that I had to tank in order to get by. I did the race next in order to win myself the Zoomerator, which is useful for many things like skill points and beating the race on Kalibo 3, but for now we'll stick it in my pocket and be on our way to Quark's trailer for the Umbras infobot. The next part is just swimming, so I'll move past it pretty quick. And Umbras has been an insane roadblock, so buckle up. So first of all, there's two roadblocks on Umbras' first half. These Giga Chad bomb throwers that stop for about half a second to breathe and then continue to vomit bombs. And also there are these floating mines that activate and track your position when you get too close. Both of these things can be beaten with the walloper, no doubt, but when they start adding groups of 2, 3, or more, and it becomes an absolute disaster for a death counter if I was doing one. What ended up being a really helpful solution is that these mines, particularly on the bridges, have a really finicky detection cone so that they only activate only while on the bridge and at the beginning of the bridge, but not while you're behind them. Listen, it's weird, but it works, and I'm through. Bomb throwers, on the other hand, are literally just RNG sometimes, and the final group of 4 is dependent on getting through the earlier sections without being hit so you can take more hits. This is a spot where 8 nanotech would have helped a lot from the start. For reference, I started this planet at 45,000 volts and made it to the first checkpoint at 57,000 volts after banging my head against the wall for 40 minutes. And when the average Ratchet planet takes about 10 minutes, you kind of feel like shit. Once you clear the first section, the rest of the level is easy and there's checkpoints everywhere. I did some more platforming and that brings us to the Snagglebeast boss fight. one of the more iconic ones for this game, and maybe even Ratchet games as a whole. And I'm sorry guys, I gave it my best attempts for the longest time. About 45 minutes straight of me trying to walloper and wrench swing his ankles, the shit would register about 1 in 100 to 1 in 150 swings, and I just did not like those odds. And there was no way to reliably do damage either, so as the only option I had left, I had to wrench throw for the entirety of the Snagglebeast boss fight. I know, but it's the only time the wrench throw is actually required. And with the defeat of the Snagglebeast, it brings us one step closer to the end in the form of Battalia. Battalia is a pretty straightforward planet. First, I do a quick grind roll section that brings us to a struggling enlistment kid who just wanted to get through college. We pay his bus fee as well in exchange for another info bot. And then we punch our way through some robots, and that brings us to a bridge where we have to activate to reach the next section. This spawns a tank that we have to eat a few shots, but at least this one can actually be damaged by the walloper. And there's one more tank in the level, and the commander rewards us with an infobot as well. Gaspar is next on the list, and that brings us the pilot's helmet so we can use it on later sections. This one might actually be the easiest mission in the game, because even though there are the turrets, I want to abide by the bonus rule as best as I can. So the easiest way to do that is just Skyrim the way up the side of the cliff here in order to snag the pilot's helmet and ignore all of the turret section. So that just leaves Orcs on next. The area opens up with a decently long Clank section where it already got the stamp of approval, so we just do it like normal, and that gives us the Magna Boots and Poketarou's infobot.
Better not let Ratchet see this one.
On to Poketarou, this planet is... not so bad either. The problem comes when we actually have to use the jet fighter after getting the thruster pack. While there is certainly a way to do this without shooting, it's so RNG based that in about an hour, I only got it reasonably close about twice. When you start the plane section, there's a point where the block chips will fly on screen and try to shoot you. The bullets going by you can be used in your favor to allow the enemy to damage their own ships. But the enemy can appear in any of the four corners of your screen, but they disappear if they go off screen too much. So if they appear on the left half and you're already turning to the right to get a good line on the sludge dumpers, there's a good chance they'll all disappear, unless you turn towards them, which lets them most likely hit you a lot. But then it gets worse because these guys actually do kind of hit hard, and as the sludge dumpers get destroyed, more enemies spawn more often, and you can't shoot them back. So the only way to get health is for one of them to appear without hitting something on the way in. You angle yourself toward an object like a mountain or a building, and they crash, and you have to A, hope they drop health when they die instead of ammo or nothing, and B, hope that you were close enough to the grab range of the box to actually collect it. And by the end of an hour, I was so sick of the sludge things trying to get them to die, I just said fuck it, and I put my needs improvement sticker on it, and I blasted away at the ships. But armed with the O2 mask, I was able to go back to Orcs as Ratchet, where I was able to first of all buy the Omega Nanotech for more health. And then after that, I would take this route to get the infobot for Planet Hoven. The first thing I did here was get the Hydra pack, and that's really easy. But then we have a couple more roadblocks. One in the form of this heli commander. Now that I've already soiled the bonus rules, I don't really mind wrench throwing this guy. He's just really tanky for literally no reason at all. And then at the end of the level, there's this ship that is immune to melee damage because, you know, it's flying in the fucking air. So the only way I can kind of even do anything about it is to use the turret. And thankfully the bonus rule is already dead and beaten down, so I'm not too upset about this.
Men, have fun.
We must get to the moon base to have fun.
But as we approach the final stretch, the infobot takes us to Gemlik Base. And the gimmick for this level is that there's these electric barriers that block a lot of the pathways between the sections. The first one is beatable with the ground pound from the thruster pack, then the second one is actually on the other side of the fence. So, doing a little clever 2014 parkour, I pulled myself up and over the fence. Did a bit more stuff only to see yet another one of them towers behind a fence. I tried my best to find my own ways around these walls by myself, but I couldn't, and luckily YouTube is our friend here and they used an out of bounds route to go all the way to the end of the level. But the Quark fight is long and annoying, plus it violates our bonus clause, so fuck it, I skipped it.
Thank you. Tonight's event will be rebroadcast at 7 on channel 4073.
Yes! Quark is history.
We get a sick new ship and head out to the planet Ultaris.
Clank? Clank? Come on, wake up!
Captain Quark?
No, goofball. It's me, Ratchet.
Clank gets absolutely slammed by lightning, and that leaves us without our long jumps and our high jump. But thanks to good level design, we don't actually need them. Luckily, this area only has one required route, and it's very short. Got the infobot, and we take off to the robot factory on 4-2. This part's easy, I just... my way to the infobot in Kalibo 3. Kalibo presents another problem in which a lot of the enemies are aerial and require hyper strikes or wrench throws to defeat them in some cases, but a lot of cases just need the walloper and running fast. But then we hit even more roadblocks where there's this electric fence blocking the path again. And I've seen others say it's not possible, but I sure did find a way. If you use the helipack's extra jump height compared to the thruster pack, and a wrench throw to hit the button, and a high jump at the soonest possible moment, you can squeeze into it just before it deactivates. And when I went to go try it again, I just couldn't squeeze my way back in. So I just opted for another out of bounds approach to this one again. Plus, I don't think we're capable of opening the next fence and getting inside anyway. Next, I completed the race for the Hollow Guys without even using the Devastator in true melee only fashion. Then with that, we backtrack to Quark and punch all the guards to get the infobot to Drek's fleet. Sneak around and punch your way through the different ships, and eventually we hit our final roadblock of the run. These turrets shoot insta-kill bullets at us from adjacent ships, and there is a method to walk around and through the bullets, but since I've already soiled the bonus challenge and it takes way too long to try and learn this, I just planed up and blasted the turrets. I took myself to the final infobot, to our final planet, right where it all started on Veldin.
It's so poetic.
Most of the planet is just run. A lot of the enemies are flying or ships or tanks, so just book it. Death abuse on checkpoints, solve all the puzzles along the way, and beat up Drek with Giant Clank, and finally, we get to the real meat of the video. The moment you've all been waiting for. How the hell do you beat Drek with melee attacks? Well, I'm so glad I said that you asked, because fuck, I hated it so much. If you ever want to feel true pain, just try this fight. It's so awful because the mechanics are so simple, but there's just enough of a sprinkle of RNG. A start to finish attempt takes just around 50 minutes to an hour, and it really sucks to die 45 minutes into a couple of the attempts, as you can see.
That shit's not fucking hitting me.
By the end of this, I think the celebration was well worth the 4 hours of attempts I put in for this video. But with that, I think we have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Ratchet and Clank from 2002 is most certainly beatable with the walloper only. With improvements to be made, I leave it up to anyone else out there to take the torch and carry it to the top of the mountain. This challenge was fun a majority of the time, but Umbras and Drek tilted me to no end, and I probably would never do this again, for free at least. And yes, that's a challenge for y'all. Other than that, I've written down a bunch of challenges between all of the Ratchet games I think will make great content, so stay tuned for all that stuff. Plenty of games out there right now I want to talk about, so if you like any and all types of video games, don't hesitate to drop a sub right now, or else our remaster size matters for the PS5. Like I said before, I want to hit 1K subs before the end of the year, so please like this video and pass it around to anyone else who might find it entertaining. Check out some links down below to keep up with me outside of YouTube, and then I'll see y'all in the next one.